Hi there folks, quick intro today because I've done the same thing again where I've got very little battery in my iPad. Oh, when will I ever learn? So I'm going to row 5,000 meters on my machine and I'm asking you to row along with me while I do it. So we're looking at around about 21 minutes-ish. And then I'm going to add on a couple of minutes at the end just as a cool down for me, but then it might give you a chance to get up to 5,000 meters if you haven't quite got there, okay? If you have got past it, then just cool down with me. Hey, good stuff. So let's get our machine set up and we can start off with drag factor, resistance, whatever you use on your machine, and set it to a point where you feel connected to the stroke, but you don't feel like you have to tug and heave against it. It's so important, that part of it. But also not so low that you don't get a workout from it. I mean, who wants that? Next up, foot straps. Set them at a height where you're able to come into the front of the machine with your shins in a vertical position comfortably. If you're too high, it could be uncomfortable. Too low, it could be too comfortable, and you can go past that vertical position, and that causes problems. And I'll talk about that in today's workout. Next up, the seat. I want you to sit more towards the front of the seat and more towards the front of your butt rather than the back of the seat and the back of your butt. One last thing, make sure that the straps cover the widest part of your feet. Okay, I forgot to say that part. That's the ballpark. And then the handle, let's hold that at shoulder width with the fingers hooked over the handle rather than a narrow grip. I will go into more detail on all of this stuff when we get rowing, but you can tell, because I'm talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, that I want to get started. So let's see, I want to go all the way around. There we go, let's go for that. Shall we go for that for a view? 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Oh, I bet you didn't think I was going to make that. So, hopefully, we'll get through to the end of this workout without me having to stop if I do run out of battery on the iPad. Apologies if I do. I use it as the reason it's a problem. We'll get into rowing in a second, but I might as well just explain. The reason this is constantly a problem is because I use the iPad as a touchscreen controller for my edit software. So there's various repetitive things like menu commands and stuff, like create new timeline from clip, okay? I do that several times in an edit. And each time I have to right click on that clip and then find it in the context menu where it says create new timeline from clip. So I have all of these shortcuts on my iPad, which then trigger the functions within the software. It's really handy. You can get like bespoke hardware called, I think it's Stream Deck, with programmable buttons and things that will do the same. But because I've got the iPad, there is a piece of software called Touch Portal, which you can basically turn your iPad into a touchscreen controller. It's really useful. And actually, I need to set it up with my flight sim, because it'd be pretty handy for that. But hang on, I'm off on one. Let's quickly talk rowing for a second and I'll come back to all this stuff. The one thing that I'm not entirely convinced by, hang on, so I'm just starting my watch. There's a reason why I'm starting my watch. There we go. Well, it's not convinced. The one thing I wish that they would include, and I've said this before, on this Immerse You Row app, is that on this screen where I've set this up as a 5,000 meter row on the Paris course, there's no time. It's not telling me how long I've been rowing for. But I'd quite like to know so I can say my usual, oh, I'm 6 minutes in. So I have to do some maths. So I figure I'm about 3 minutes in because we're about to hit 800 meters. But yeah, I do wish they would put a clock on this screen. You have it on the other ones, like when you're actually properly racing, but this one doesn't seem to have one. Anyway. It's a great piece of software. I recommend taking a look at it. Anyway, so rowing. Let's get into that before I go on my big long journeys into other tales. Now that we are coming up for 4 minutes in, hopefully you are eased off, if not warmed up. It's freezing today again. It's what are we, February 12th today. And I got a birthday coming up soon. I know I'm not talking about rowing, but and I've had, say over the past 15 years, I think I've had 4 or 5 white birthdays where it snowed. So the temperature's definitely right for snow in Glasgow anyway. It's cold enough. Right, so another wee minute there just to make sure that you are warm. Honestly, I planned that. So what I want you to think about is just this. I want you to think about sitting up on the seat. Sit up. Remember I said in the intro about sitting on the front part of your backside and the front part of the seat. I really want you to think about that. Sit up as though you've just been shouted at for slumping at the dinner table, or for a more yucky imagery, I used to talk about, imagine you've got a carrot stuck up your jacksie. Woo! You'd be sitting up then. So I want you to really think about, as you finish the stroke, sitting up and then tilting forwards over your hips and trying to stay connected to your sit bones as you roll to the front of the machine. So up on your sit bones, stay there, and then push. And you will, if you brace your core, then you should stay connected through half of your leg drive before you swing over your hips into that backwards tilt at the back. And although I'm now tilting to like a 11 o'clock angle at the back, I'm still I'm more connected to my sit bones rather than collapsing my posture. This is about being prim and proper as you sit here. Proper? Here's another. What movie is that from? Proper? Oh, okay, coming into the 2K mark. I think once our little ginger fella gets to 2K here, he just kind of turns round. Yeah, so just think about being connected and tilting, hinging forwards over your hips. And somebody asked me to explain what opening up the hips means. And it's because as you tilt forwards, your hips should rock forwards, so they are now kind of closer in angle towards your legs. So then opening up your hips is when you tilt back at the back of the stroke and open up that angle. Just think about a pair of scissors. As you come forwards, you're closing the scissors. And as you come backwards, you're opening them. Or a door, or a book, whatever. But posture, posture, posture. I can't say enough about how important it is. You can get all of the rest of your sequencing right, but if you're not thinking about sitting up on your sit bones, then you can keep your arms straight through the drive, but all the power will be going through your back rather than your core. And if your hips are rolled backwards as you come forwards, then you're just, well, you're losing power, but you're asking for injury and trouble. Well, injury, not and trouble. That makes it sound like I'm going to send the heavies around. But it's funny. Ha 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 ha. I get quite a lot of emails. I actually thought about this chat today, and it's quite nicely gone from a flow from one to the other. Asking about footwear. What are the best shoes for rowing? Now, I will say that if you are an elite rower and you are chasing tenths of a second, you're rowing 2K in like 5:34 and you're trying to break the world record, then shoes are going to play a massive difference. Or, sorry, shoes may make, there we go with the battery. Shoes will make a difference. I tell you what, how are we going to do this? There's going to be a cut, okay? And I'm going to turn off and save where we've got to so far in the row. Then the background's going to disappear and I'm going to continue rowing. Okay, so in 3, 2, 1. Hi! There you go. That only took me about 20 seconds, but I had to take the monitor off too. So, if you are at the absolute peak of your performance, then possibly the difference between rowing in a pair of gym shoes and a pair of powerlifting shoes may make that tenth of a difference in terms of power, which could take you to beat someone, okay? Now, I am not saying that tenth of a second doesn't apply to normal people, but I've told the story before about being in a bike shop and the guy in front of me was quibbling over whether to spend an extra £80 on a rear mech that was 50 grams lighter than the one that he currently had. But he was carrying what can only be described as a massive beer belly. And so I'm standing behind, just thinking, you know, you could save yourself a lot of money by losing that weight from your gut mate, rather than trying to buy your way out of it. And that is kind of what I look at shoes. There are a lot of people who could look at their technique and even their training as a way that would give them like 15, 20 seconds improvement over a 2K, rather than debating whether to get a pair of Adidas power lifts rather than Vans, which I'm rowing in today. I got my Spider-Man Vans on today. So really, when it comes to shoes, there are styles that might not be ideal, like big, chunky, thick-soled, kind of, let's call them fashion shoes, like the Nike ones with the big air bubbles and stuff. I'd stay away from them. Because of that raised heel, you're kind of messing with the contact point of your heels to the foot plates. And yeah, you'll also be losing some power as you compress the sole, the air, but it's not huge. Like I say, posture, straight arms at the front, pushing with the legs first, swinging with the back, and pulling at the back. They are going to get you a lot more pace than changing your shoes. So, I mean, these Vans are kind of along the same line as the Converse or the barefoot shoes that I sometimes wear. Zero heel lift, pretty flat soled in terms of hard soled, like they are flat soled, but hard. So they also retain a lot of comfort as well. So if you're in a gym and you are rowing within doing like a weights workout and stuff, so you're walking around the place, Converse and Vans are a good choice because they're still comfortable to move around in. Whereas when I was wearing the Adidas Powerlifts, because I was convinced they'd make me go faster, when I went to the gym, I always took a second pair of shoes with me for when I was doing all of the kind of stretching and stuff afterwards, walking around, because Adidas Powerlifts are not comfortable for walking around in. They're too flat and rigid. So if you're looking for shoes, low heel rise, like Converse and Vans, and comfort are key. I'd also take a look at the heel, because I've got a couple of pairs, in fact, of Saucony running shoes that have a big point to the back of them, rather than a curved heel. And so they wobble and move around in the foot cups, the heel cups, because they're not stable. So they're good for running, they're good for high rocks because they're good for running, but they are not fun to row in. Whereas these Vans, they're a lot of fun. I mean, they've got Spider-Man on them. Anyway, I know I was going to go somewhere when I was talking about the touchscreen and editing, but can't remember where it was. But anyway, just to seal that off, because I have the iPad on all day while I'm editing, that's why if I don't put it on charge at night, what happened today happens. So I don't know what I'll put in the background. I might put in my Don't Row Alone thing. This is my new kind of subtle rebrand of RowAlong, especially right now where my output is mostly these gentle morning rows. This isn't about performance, it's about me keeping you company while you row. And this is one of the new t-shirts that I got made with the Don't Row Alone slogan on it. But truth be told, I don't like the design. For all of my bluster about making this stuff, my one flaw is I am not a graphic designer by any stretch of the imagination. Oh, just over 21 minutes for the 5K. So I'll try and hold stroke rate. It's a shame we didn't get to see it all through on Immerse You Row, but you saw it going one way down the Paris course. So just imagine that in reverse. We started, we got a good 1,500 meters or so into the reverse. So hopefully, yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I might go into Fiverr or something, see if I can find someone with some graphic design skills and say, this is what I want, can you make it better? So I do like the idea of Don't Row Alone, it really is. I think the more time goes on, the more I want to lean into this side of things. Like I say, I've got all of these plans up there that I made over the past 8 years, and I can just go back and remake them, but I quite like I can't remember who said it. I don't think it was Peter, but somebody was saying in a comment yesterday how basically I've got a very well-established, well-defined niche, which right now does seem to be people who are rowing for exercise rather than performance. So I should just lean into that. I've got all the performance videos there anyway. And while I'm using these 5K morning rows as a bit of base training before the day ahead, makes perfect sense. Although yesterday didn't work out as planned. If you remember previously on RowAlong, I was meant to go and film workouts yesterday at the gym, but the entire unit where the gym's based had a power cut. So this is why I was at home editing all day and why the iPad's drained. So yes, that didn't happen, but I just ended up But it's quite nice actually, because instead of doing another 14, 15K worth of rowing, I did a good interval workout of 500 meters row, 500 meters ski, 500 meters run. All at my raised pace, like what I do in a high rocks. So that was quite good. Got an extra like 6K from combined row and ski. Also spent some time trying to work on my ski technique after posting the ski erg video last week, or on Saturday. I have had quite a few comments about my technique, but I think a lot of it is, it's really hard on ski to see where somebody's putting in the force. So like most of the comments are like, oh, you're leading with your arms. And I'm really not. But I think because I had the drag factor set quite high, my arms were getting too involved in terms of hanging off the handles. So it looks as though I'm pulling, whereas actually it's just because my arms are getting left behind. And it's the same with rowing. When you have the drag factor set too high, like you know how I talk about forwards tilt, arms straight, push with the legs, and hold arms straight in the forwards tilt. If you have the drag set too high and your legs can't overcome the weight of the stroke because you get your drag factor set too high, that is when you end up heaving, swinging your back too soon or pulling your arms too soon because your legs can't power, and so therefore the rest of your body's kind of like, oh, we better take over here. And it's the same with the ski, because I had the drag set too high. Even though my core was coming down, my arms would get left behind, and so it looked as though I was pulling. So anyway, I was working on that yesterday, on my ski technique. So it's pretty handy. And you know what? It saves me from risking burnout as well. Right, that's gonna be done at 6K. I mean, I'm really enjoying all the stuff that I'm doing right now. Now I'm pretending to be a fitness influencer and all that stuff, but it really is so busy. I'm busier now than I am when I'm at work. So, right, let's move into stretching. So I put both feet back into the foot stretchers. The straps are loose. I'm sitting more towards the front of the seat, but don't perch right off the edge because you'll fall off if you do that. Flick your toes back against the straps, legs nice and straight, probably locked down. Be careful not to like overlock, but they are down and locked rather than the soft finish that you have when you're rowing. And then hands in the air, tilt forwards. So that tiny little pause I had just then was a flash of me thinking, should I make it like a quick, you know how I've been making a series of short videos, just talking about various aspects of technique and things. I was wondering whether, like, what do you do with your legs? Is that a short video? Like, do you keep them bent? Do you lock them down and stuff? Because there's, oh, who was it? I want to say it's one of the Apple Fitness videos. Possibly. Hang on, let's move on to glutes while I think about this. Sorry. What leg do I do first? That one? Yeah. Put one leg up on the rail every time. One leg up on the rail. Heel is round about where the flap that joins the concept to you is, but it's basically straight in front of you. Bring your other leg up and over so that your heel is now sitting in the kind of divot of your knee. Bring that knee across your body so you have a straight line between face, knee, foot, and monitor. Hold that knee in position and then whoosh, swing round. Hold on to the back of the machine and rotate your upper body around. What was I talking about? That's completely gone. What on earth was I talking about? I wonder if it'll come back to me. What? I honestly, my mind has gone totally blank to what I was saying. Was it about filming? No. Was it about burnout? Possibly. At work? The amount of workload, is that what it was? And how busy you're at work. Oh, fitness influencer, and is that where it was? Oh, crikey, change legs. Same thing. I think it was. Well, basically, I'll continue from that point. Basically, I'm just very busy. There we go. That's the end of it. Just the constant output of like even making these in the morning and then filming at castles and then editing the stuff and then all this replying on social media and all the YouTube comments and trying to kind of like get it out there and make the short videos and upload them. Was that what it was? Was I talking about legs bending? Is that what it was? I don't know. Yeah, all that stuff. I'm just bashing away at it and really not seeing. I mean, my YouTube views have gone from Christmas, it was like pre-Christmas when I started doing these 5K a day workouts. Well, let's stand up and do quads. I was getting about 79,000 views a month, I think, every 28 days, 79,000 views. I'm now up to, I kind of bounce up and down between like 145 and 150,000. So I'm kind of just under double the views, but it hasn't translated into anything. It's certainly not translated into any money, any more money from YouTube. You would have thought that doubling the views, I'd get double of the advertising income from YouTube, but I really haven't. I've basically made, I don't know, say about a quarter of what I was making before, more. And trust me, it isn't a lot. I won't talk money. You can look into it. Like if you type in 150,000 views, how much does that generate on YouTube? You'll find out how much I make. And the thing is that I think because a lot of them, say about 30,000 of those views are from YouTube Shorts, they don't pay anywhere near as well as the main ones. So yes, I think that's possibly, as that's just on them, that's possibly where that issue has come from. Sorry, podcast people, I changed legs about 30 seconds into that rant. So we're just finishing off the quads. Yeah. So anyway, so I'm very, yeah, it's just, I don't know, maybe I'm just in the wrong place. Maybe people just don't want to look at me. I don't know. It's not that. I think it's just, I think that there is a YouTube game to be played. Let's do forearms next. So put your hands in front of your face and then push them together, bring them down in front of your body so you have your forearms parallel to the floor. And then push your fingers together, push your hands together, and you should get a really nice stretch into your wrist and forearms. And you can point your fingers back towards you and that will change that thing. I'm not going to go into my normal kind of like, oh, woe is me YouTube thing. I just think there's either it is just down to the fact that I have my niche and I've saturated that niche and it's perfectly fine, that unless I start really hammering stuff, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the one that's kind of telling you that if you don't watch the videos, if you don't click like and subscribe, if you don't all that stuff, then you're not allowed to play. It's my ball and you can't play. No. I'm sure, again, so I've said before, actually, I'll slightly side swap. What's side swap? What? But I'll move to the side in this conversation. There we go. Let's move on to shoulders. So hand straight out in front of you, turn it upside down, bring it across your body, loop the other arm across it, and it helps it come across for a stretch. Yeah, I said before how one of the benefits of how I make this channel is that I have a day job as well. So I don't do this as a living. Right now, technically, I'm kind of exploring, could I make this as a living? And the answer is no. Certainly not from the YouTube side of things. With making content for Avaron and Myro, possibly. But from YouTube, no. I mean, I've made, no. So, sorry. And so, but I also said that I don't know if I'd want to because I'd start to get a little bit stressed and I wouldn't put as much, well, I've just changed arms, podcast people, and I wouldn't put as much kind of love, oh, crikey, my nose. I'd start to feel like work rather than it being something that I love doing. And I think this is one of the reasons that I really enjoy making these 5K rows in the morning, is that I love making these. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoy making the Myro content, but it's a completely different, because it's very structured how it's done, and it's definitely, I have to be a lot more professional. There's a lot of time spent over the setup, so there's absolutely no way I could make a Myro workout and suddenly have the video in the background stop playing. I mean, there isn't a video in the background, but you get what I mean. I couldn't get away with that. For them, it has to be like absolute 10 out of 10 professionalism the entire time. And there's something quite stressful about that. It feels like that is a work side of my rowing rather than this is my fun side of rowing. Does that make sense? Like, but I still enjoy like making the workouts for them. I don't want to make it sound like I'm throwing any shade at all towards making it. It's just it's an interesting personal journey for me to because I have been for the past 8 years just the rowing goofball that things would just go wrong all over the place. I had like during the 2K plan or whatever when I'd cut my own hair and I got it wrong with the wrong guard and just basically did an inverted Mohican through the middle of my head. And it's like times where like the microphone would cut out and so I just do it into voiceover, all that kind of stuff. So I very much played very fast and loose with your expectations in terms of production quality. It's improved over time, it must be said. I mean, I'm getting slightly less things wrong and whatever, but there still is this kind of like sometimes I'm about like an 8 out of 10 in terms of quality and whatever. Whereas, and so that's why it's a very relaxed way to make it. Whereas when I'm making stuff for Aviron and I'm making stuff for Myro, it has to be absolutely perfect every single time. And so it adds a kind of little bit of pressure on it. Anyway, so this is a little bit of a kind of a rant on the end, but hopefully between the stretching and all that kind of stuff for the people that needs a little bit more time in order to get to the 5K or 6K or whatever it is that you're aiming for, hopefully this chat has kind of kept you going until the end of that. Maybe other people haven't made it this far. Maybe you're kind of like, I really don't care about his stresses of work. And it's not even stress. I mean, I'm sitting on a rowing machine having fun rowing, and I do like the reason I'm an editor for my day job is because I love editing stuff. So it's not like it's stress that I'm not a surgeon or a dentist or whatever, or yeah. So I'm not saying this is stress, but you get what I mean. Hopefully you get what I mean. So right, I'm done with the end of that. That's a little bit of an odd finish, but just in case you're interested, I mean, this is very, like I said, this is my therapy. So thanks for being I should be paying you. We'll just call it quits, eh? I'm giving you a workout, you're listening to me, so it's quits. So make sure and have something to drink, something to eat, have a shower, tell someone you love them. That's the most important. Well, they're all as important as each other, but make sure and tell someone you love them. And I will see you. So tomorrow's Friday, yay! Friday the 13th. Ooh. And then it's Valentine's Day on Saturday. Isn't that exciting? And then I've bought my wife a card. And then we're kind of saying, I think what we're going to do is we're going to buy each other a favorite chocolate bar as a kind of a thing, because there's no point. Well, it's not there's no point, but like just because it's Valentine's Day and suddenly all the prices go up for flowers and all this kind of stuff, it's like, well, I don't need that day to tell you I love you. I tell her I love her all the time because I do. Because I tell you guys to tell someone, it wouldn't be awful if I didn't tell anyone if I was like me. Anyway, right, I'm still talking. I'm going to shut up. I'm going to go. I will see you tomorrow or in the next workout. Until then, row well, be well. Bye-bye.